I've been playing The Last of Us Part 1 remake. I'm about an hour into the game, and I've been playing it with my girlfriend. So we had one good game sesh where, she was just kind of watching me over Discord and stuff. And my feelings are a little complicated about this, Connor.
Oh, yeah?
If you've been watching the sort of review cycle that's happening around this game, everyone's giving it glowing reviews, but everyone is also saying, this is The Last of Us again. And this is The Last of Us again. There is no real gameplay upgrades. It feels like the shooting is a little tighter, but the melee systems are exactly the same. There is no dodge mechanic. There is no prone mechanic, which is fine. I wasn't 100% expecting the prone mechanic because that would cause a remapping and reinvention of literally every combat scenario in the game. So I would understand why you wouldn't want to do that, because that would add easily another year and a half of development time, and you want this out before the show. But to address the elephant in the room, this game is a blatant cash grab. This is absolutely a way to sell you a product that you've already played at $70 on your PlayStation 5 in buildup of hype of the television show, and for Sony to charge you $70 for when the TV show comes out, and they inevitably get a bump in sales like we saw with The Witcher. Now, whether that's a good or a bad thing is a topic of conversation that I think we should approach. It is a blatant cash grab, and I feel like if you are a big fan of The Last of Us, but you're not necessarily in the mood for that exact same experience again, do not buy this game at $70. Wait for discounts. Wait for a drop in price. If this was $40, maybe $50, then we could have a conversation about that. But this game is absolutely the exact same game again. So, Connor, we had a conversation about it back when we did our Last of Us Remastered review of you going, I'm not really interested in this remake. I don't need to feel this experience again, and especially not for $70. And I agree with you. You should not touch this game. You don't need to. Now, when we're a few more years down the line and they inevitably drop the Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2 2-pack for $70, where it's, Last of Us Part 2 remastered for the PlayStation 5 and then the Part 1 remake, then maybe have that conversation with yourself and decide if that's worth it, 3 years down the line, or 2 years down the line. Who knows when that happens? Factions will be out, and it'll be bundled in with Factions as well, which I assume is going to be free to play, but who the fuck knows with Sony? If they put out a pack with the Factions bundled, then maybe that's worth your time and effort, especially because you can jump straight from 1 straight into 2. But really, all this does is visually put The Last of Us, the first game, on par with the second game. And don't get me wrong, this is more than just your typical remaster. This is a full, from the ground up remake of The Last of Us. They've just, faithfully remade it so it's that exact experience that we had back in the day. To focus on the pros for a second, this game is beautiful. It's gorgeous. It might be the most gorgeous looking game on the PlayStation 5 right now. It's so good. What they've done, they've with the recreation of every texture, the recreation of every asset, the recreation of every character model, the more in-depth animations in face and in the environment and stuff. I've seen clips online of the rugs that are, when the rug gets like a little like little bend in it and stuff, and you step on it and stuff. That happens in this game. The Naughty Dog crazy level of attention to detail that we've seen all of these years is here in full, in a way that it was impossible to see when this game initially came out because of the limitations of the PlayStation 3. So that alone is justifying me personally playing this game, because this has added a level of immersion to The Last of Us that I haven't felt since I initially played the game. It almost feels like I'm playing it again for the first time, which is a compliment to the game, because this is a masterpiece of a video game, of course. It's just that, I've played it a dozen times, but you know, now this is getting me as close as possible to reliving that experience again. For $70 though, I don't think this was worth it.
Kind of undercuts the whole thing.
Exactly. But the level of immersion is unbelievable here. I can't, you know, stress that enough. Like it almost feels like I'm playing it again for the first time. All of the hits are hitting. You know, the tragic event that kicks off the plot brought something out of me in this playthrough that it didn't bring out of me in the last couple of playthroughs.
And you just played it recently too, so
I did I played it this year, and I played it in the lead up to part 2. So I've been playing a lot of The Last of Us Part 1 on top of the dozen playthroughs that I played back in the day, because I played the fuck out of this game. However, $70 is a hard asking price. And I just played this game, and I'm just playing it again. That's all this is just me playing it again. Granted, I'm playing it with my girlfriend, which is adding, you know, quite a bit to it, but it is that experience. But like, even having, you know, this little scene in particular looks so much worse than in the original game. Looks so much worse in the original game because it's 10 years old, nearly 10 years old. And there's such a distinct difference between gameplay and cutscene, and here it's almost 1-in-1, which is fantastic. It's so nice to see. This is absolutely the definitive version of this game. If you're going to play The Last of Us, play this version of the game, especially if you've never played it before. It's worth your $70 if you've never played the game before. But if you're like, hey, I'm already playing the remastered version of this game, don't stop. Don't reset your progress, and don't give them another $70 for this. Like, and this is something that you as the gamer are going to have to balance and judge and deem if this is worthy of your time and your money or not. Especially because it's just the single-player campaign. There's no factions multiplayer here. Judge that for what you will on your own. Like, is that worth it or not? However, to bring it back to the pros, obviously all the dynamic lighting and all the dynamic audio, 3D audio that the PlayStation 5 takes advantage of is here, and it sounds so phenomenal. And the UI has been updated to match The Last of Us Part 2's UI, which I think is cleaner, but I do miss some of the character of the original game's UI. That green health bar as opposed to the white one I liked more personally. But it's fine to not have it. But having the clean, unanimous UI between the both games, again, like, this is just to match the quality of the second game visually, is really nice to see. And then all of the accessibility options that were groundbreaking in Part 2 are here. You know, the colorblind modes, the hard of hearing modes, the slowdown time, the just anything and everything that you need as a disabled gamer that, you know, the second game was praised for are here in full in the first one. So if you've never been able to play The Last of Us because you couldn't mash buttons, or you just couldn't play it because you're, you know, hard of hearing or hard of seeing, you know, now, you know, you might be able to with all of these new upgrades, which should be commended. Absolutely. But, you know, at the end of the day, this is the original Last of Us. And if you want to spend $70 on this, like I have, then spend $70. But if I didn't have this podcast, I would probably wait. You know, me as a gamer, I would probably wait until the inevitable 2-pack came out, and I could have both games on PlayStation 5. Instead, now I've got to pay a $20 upgrade fee or something, I assume. I hope. for The Last of Us Part 2, but, you know, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But until then, The Last of Us Part 1 is a great game because The Last of Us is a great game.
I remember when it came out recently, you remember Angry Joe, right?
Yes.
Video game guy? Yeah, he, for his review of this game, he re-uploaded his first review of Last of Us.
Yeah, I saw that
back
as
in
well.
the day. Yeah.
Yeah, very funny. That was a W for Angry Joe. I don't always love the Angry Joe content, but that was a W. That was
pretty funny. Yeah, you know, the biggest criticisms I've heard about it is in regards to the accessibility features, because people still are complaining about how it should have just been added to the old game rather than remade up and a
You can't
$70 price tag.
That's not something
dangled in
you can
front.
just do. You can't just do that. Like that's something accessibility. If you listen to game developers, accessibility is something you have to implement on the ground level of developing your game. It's not something you can just add later. You'll remember God of War 2018 was heavily criticized for its accessibility options, specifically its text size. When the game launched, the text size was very, very small. And because of just how game development works, to my understanding of it, again, I don't know anything about game development, but to my understanding of game development, I do want to pause this real quick right here. Connor, remind me or not, did the back of people's heads blow out in the original game?
They did not. I can guarantee you that.
like it was definitely bloody and gruesome, but this is fucking nasty. This is gnarly.
Yeah, and the blood spread, that was definitely not in there either. They've added things.
There was blood spread, but it was.
No,
it didn't
seem
look
as
as good.
detailed.
It didn't look as good. Everything looks, and then the ray tracing off of the blood. I'm telling you, man, the immersion in this game is great. It's great. I think this is the definitive version of the first Last of Us game. Connor, if you ever want to revisit The Last of Us, don't touch the remaster. What are you doing? Play this.
It's free. Now it's free. It wasn't free when I bought it, but
the remastered version of the game? Oh, through like PS Extra or something?
No, through me having a copy of it. I already got.
I see.
I already got access to The Last of Us. Why would I play this?
But why would you play that when you could have this?
Well, maybe as you said, maybe when there's a package deal or something like that, maybe a free PS game. You never know.
Also, I'll say like just replaying it like this and it being at this level of fidelity, I want to play the second game again. Like I'm itching to play the second game, but I'm gonna wait until I'm finishing my playthrough with my girlfriend, and then I'll play part 2 with her. But yeah, the backs of heads getting blown out. There's a part later on where in the warehouse segment where I shoot a guy and just his brains splatter all over a box, and I'm like, fucking Christ! All of this was in the original game, but like just the level of detail in it now, gnarly shit, super gnarly. And super well appreciated. There's a lot of skipping around in this footage, and I'm sorry about that. I'm trying out a whole bunch of new recording stuff, and I just don't know if my computer can handle it. I'm recording on 2 different programs while I do things now, and it's not really working out the way I want it to. Accessibility. So the text size in God of War was too small, and then it took months for them to be able to implement the option for gamers to change that. Like it took them a long time to put that in, and I'm sure it was a lot of work because you have to dig in deep and basically uproot all of your code and like kind of slide this in underneath it. So it's just accessibility is something that can only be really implemented in this amount of detail on the ground level, which is why this was rebuilt for PlayStation 5 the way it was. But this is undeniably the most expensive and bougie marketing ploy for the coexistence of the games and the TV show coming.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people will miss out on this for that reason alone in the future, as long as this game's out. Yeah, but it does look good to his credit, as you said.
Oh, it looks beautiful. One thing that I think is kind of weird is if you watch this guy, like just the way his eyes kind of fade to black there. I don't know if you saw it right there. I can back it up for a second.
Yeah, actually, I missed it.
So when you choke an enemy out, in the first game, and it's again the exact same animation because it's based off of that timing. You see like their eyes bulge and they're crawling at you and stuff. It's the same thing, but like,
oh yeah,
I don't know, just the way the eyes, like the way the life left his eyes was a little strange, and I remember that being better in part 2. But maybe maybe I've got rose tinted glasses for that game. I don't know. But yeah,
it looks like it's not as good.
Yeah,
from my memory of Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely, like, I would argue it looks better than the remaster, but it looks a little weird, just that level of detail of the way the life leaves the eyes. It just doesn't look 100%. But that's such a nitpick. Like the way gameplay works, and like, I have to turn the camera around to see that. I have to put in the effort to see that. So like, that's not something most players will ever see. But I saw it because I'm looking for it, and I know where enemy placement and stuff is. I'll say some of the changes are very subtle. Like there's new art on the walls and stuff. Buildings do look different. Sarah's room in particular, some of the posters are different. which I found interesting in the beginning of the game. And then I've heard tellings that, there's even more subtle differences in gameplay, such as enemy placement in certain combat scenarios has been altered. I can't speak to that for myself. It's just what I've heard on the internet from people whose opinions I trust. So yeah, The Last of Us is a great fucking video game, and if you've never played it, you should play it. And you should play this version. If you haven't played Last of Us since it originally came out in 2013, you should play this version. But if you've played it recently, like me and Connor have, or if you played it when Part 2 came out in the anticipation for Part 2, that's a question you need to ask yourself, is would a prettier version of the first Last of Us game be worth $70?
Go out and decide.
I think to both me and Connor, no, but that's something for everyone else to answer themselves.
Mm-hmm. Oh well, sometimes not everything is so not everything needs to be jumped on and played.
Oh no,
because it came out.
Oh, there's so many games out right now. Like there's so many great games like Power Wash Simulator that you can play right now. That and Cult of the Lamb. Cult of the Lamb is great. I am playing Cult of the Lamb still, and the deeper I get into the game, the more I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be it for the Two Penny Games Cast, episode 111. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Remember, next week we have our review for Chrono Trigger for our Two Penny Game Club. So if you're playing along at home with us, make sure to hop in with any questions or comments or anything in the comment section of this YouTube video, youtube.com/2pennygamescast. Or you can reach out to me on Twitter, which can all be found, or me or Connor on Twitter, which can all be found in the description. And then don't forget that we go live usually every Tuesday with Phil at twitch.tv/2pennygames, and then I go live when I can. I'm a busy college student on twitch.tv/2pennygames, where I will be playing more Rumbleverse and Neon White and just a whole bunch of different games, whatever strikes my fancy at the time. So do check that out. But until next time, have a great time. And Connor, say goodbye to the people.
Bye.